When it comes to choosing a horror film for your weekly movie night, it can be no easy task. After all, with hundreds upon hundreds of classic genre-defining titles taking up all of the room in horror's endless library, it's easy to be spoiled for choice. Plus, in a world seemingly saturated with blockbuster horror, it comes as no surprise that some truly terrifying titles can fly under the radar. That's not to say that these films didn't receive a widespread release, it's that these films are less talked about due to the stark difference in their approaches to the horror canon. Many of these films approach non-conventional themes, providing an often strange and vastly alternative horror experience. Some weird, some disturbing, some downright mind-boggling. There are tons of hidden horror gems out there, perfect for mixing up your next horror movie marathon. With that being said, here are 8 alternative horror films that you probably haven't seen. 8. The Neon Demon. Elle Fanning leads as Jessie, an aspiring model, in this 2016 psychological trip and cautionary tale from acclaimed Danish director Nicholas Winding Refn. After gifting the world with stylish cult classics such as Drive, Bronson, and Only God Forgives, Refn delved into the horror genre to bring us this stunning yet grisly tale of delusional egotism and cutthroat jealousy. When Jessie moves to Los Angeles to pursue a career in modelling, she finds instant success, entrancing art directors, casting agents and photographers with her natural beauty and alluring aura. In doing so, she naturally steals spotlights from many other models in the industry, sparking an intense, cannibalistic envy among them as Jessie's narcissism grows to a dangerously callous level. What follows is a nightmarish fable of horrific violence, Lynchian hallucinations, and festering betrayal. The third film from Refn to be nominated for the Palme d'Or at Cannes Film Festival, rich with mouth-watering cinematography, a killer score from Cliff Martinez, and a rather unsettling cameo from Keanu Reeves, The Neon Demon is a slow-burning odyssey, teaching us all that sometimes the modelling industry can literally be murder. 7. Climax. Everyone loves a good old-fashioned school disco, right? Wrong. Well, not when the party is directed by one of cinema's most controversial directors, that is. In 2018, Gaspar Noé, the Argentinian visionary behind experimental art house classic Enter the Void and the hyper-violent and extremely controversial Irreversible, brought us his most stripped-back and celebrated film to date. Starring Sofia Boutella, Climax follows a French improv dance troupe that throw an alcohol-laden after-party in an abandoned school. What starts as a seemingly innocent gathering of friends soon turns to a dark and horrifying ordeal when the troupe discover their sangria has been laced with LSD. What sets Climax apart from other drug horrors is that we never actually get to see the horrific hallucinations that the characters are subjected to. Instead, we are forced to watch as hopeless spectators while the acid-spiked sangria sends the troupe into utter chaos. Through its use of long, seemingly endless takes, unusually dizzying cinematography, and largely improvised dialogue, the ruthless horror of Climax lies in its disturbing realism and its sense of ceaseless, agonising hopelessness. 6. Eraserhead. From visionary filmmaker and cinematic legend David Lynch comes his surrealist directorial debut, Eraserhead. Arguably his most overtly symbolic film to date, Eraserhead is a dark, gloomy and terrifying meditation on the fears of parenthood. First released in 1977 to an audience of only 25 people, Lynch's experimental body horror follows the dim-witted, scruffy-haired Spencer as he tries to come to terms with becoming father to a hideously deformed creature. The child creature cries endlessly through the night and without cease, sparking turmoil in his relationship with the child's mother and causing Spencer to partake in reckless acts of selfish desire. What follows are a series of gory, nightmarish visions of otherworldly proportions as Spencer revels in guilt and anxious confusion. Unlike any other horror film on this list, or in the world for that matter, Eraserhead relies on bleak, dreamlike imagery rife in artistic prowess to instill confusion and fear in its viewers. While it is rather ambiguous and definitely not for everyone, Eraserhead is an absolute must-see for die-hard horror fans and film buffs alike. 5. Bone Tomahawk. What happens when you take the classic Western genre and then add hideous cannibalistic creatures and grisly body horror? You get S. Craig Zahler's 2015 Western horror, Bone Tomahawk. Set in the 1890s, we follow Sheriff Hunt as he and a small posse set out on a dangerous mission to a desolate wasteland in pursuit of a savage and indigenous cannibal tribe. Kurt Russell leads an ensemble cast with Patrick Wilson, Richard Jenkins and Matthew Fox in this disturbing reimagining of the classic damsel in distress western. With a brilliant screenplay at its helm and some utterly jaw-dropping prosthetics, Bone Tomahawk is as unique in its execution as it is terrifying. Viewers of this cowboy nightmare will be treated to a truly alternative horror experience, with nostalgic callbacks to western classics like Unforgiven and True Grit, coupled with deeply unsettling body horror. An expert blend of the western and cannibal horror genres, Bone Tomahawk is a harrowing, brutal and unforgiving directorial debut. 4. Raw. The second cannibal horror film on our list, this 2016 French-Belgian horror drama from acclaimed director Julia Ducournau is an incredibly stylish blend of coming-of-age drama and elegant body horror. We follow Justine, a young student and devout vegetarian who, during a disgusting hazing activity forced upon her by fellow students, develops an intense and insatiable craving for flesh. On the surface, discovering that Justine is actually a carnivore isn't such a terrifying concept, but it's when her cravings for meat begin to develop to that of a primal beast that her true cannibalistic tendencies begin to surface. As raw as its title suggests, viewers are in for a beautifully crafted art house horror with a gorgeous screenplay, exquisite performances, and a uniquely creative approach to the personal burden of cannibalism. 3. The Loved Ones. Over the years, Australia has blessed the horror genre with some truly phenomenal titles, with the likes of 2005's Wolf Creek and the international paranormal sensation The Babadook. But one title that commonly falls victim to obscurity is Sean Byrne's spine-chilling directorial debut, The Loved Ones. First screened to audiences at the 2009 Toronto International Film Festival, we follow solemn teenager Brent, who lives grief-stricken following the death of his father. When he's asked to prom by the quiet and seemingly innocent Lola, he politely declines her offer. Brent is then kidnapped by Lola's father and restrained in their home for the purpose of subjecting him to heinous acts of torture. Immensely dark and laden with twists, this Aussie torture horror soars high above others of its kind through its distinctively horrific approach to the teen drama formula. Through an intricate combination of distorted music and sound effects, coupled with razor-sharp editing and blood-curdling visuals, The Loved Ones is a ruthless experience, not to be taken lightly. 2. Antichrist. From one of cinema's most polarising directors, Lars von Trier, comes arguably the most controversial film on our list. Premiering at the 2009 Cannes Film Festival, Antichrist is 108 minutes of unadulterated terror. We follow an unnamed couple, played by Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsborough, who retreat to a cabin in the woods following the death of their son. As the man begins to suffer from strange and nightmarish visions, the woman's behaviour grows increasingly unstable and sexually violent, leading to depraved acts of self-harm and a devastating finale. A visceral and highly personal film, exploring themes of depression and mental illness, Trier channels his own struggles with a severe psychiatric disorder through mesmerising cinematography, a truly haunting score, and a career-defining performance from Charlotte Gainsborough. Though as beautiful in its imagery as it is unrelentingly grotesque, the film requires a strong stomach to get through, as viewers will be subjected to a series of horrifying images scarcely seen in films anywhere else in the world. Fair warning to viewers that Antichrist is definitely not for the faint of heart, and once you've seen it, it cannot be unseen. 1. Let the Right One In. In 2010, Cloverfield director Matt Reeves triumphed the horror scene with his stylish and genre-blending Let Me In. But it was Swedish director Thomas Alfredson that laid the foundation for Reeves' American remake with his 2008 vampire masterpiece Let the Right One In. Set in the early 80s in Stockholm, Sweden, we follow the troubled 12-year-old Lucas as he struggles with loneliness and being bullied at school by his peers. When Ely, a child vampire, moves in next door, he begins an unlikely friendship with her, which eventually blossoms into a tender love. But as gruesome murders begin to rise in the suburban community at the hands of Ely, Lucas must face the ugly truth of what she is and the true value of their friendship. Premiering at the 2008 Gothenburg Film Festival to universal acclaim, Let the Right One In is a vampire horror like no other. Often regarded as the best of its kind, film critic legend Roger Ebert himself regarded the film as the best modern vampire movie. With truly breathtaking and tender performances, flawless cinematography, and a beautifully unique story, Let the Right One In is a cold and blood-soaked fairy tale, and the ultimate alternative horror film. And there you have it, 8 alternative horror films that you probably haven't seen. Perfect for shaking up your next horror movie marathon. If you've thought of your own alternative horror film that I haven't mentioned in this list, chuck it in the comments below. There's always room for another. With that being said, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video. But until then, take it easy.